crafters, welcome to Two Hearts Crochet. In our last two videos we did how to start a corner to corner piece using double crochet for the stitch and how to make your increasing rows. And in the very last one we covered how to decrease your rows. Today we're going to show you how to do some color changes. They're not going to be terribly complicated. I only have two colors here. I've got this bluish green and then this white color here. But it'll give you an idea of how to make those color changes. So we'll go ahead and get started. I have this piece here that I've worked. I'm on row 4 and I've got, I'm on row 5. And I've got the first two blocks in this bluish green color. There's a couple different ways you can join a new color into your work. I like to do it personally right before the slip stitch to join, where I've just got these two loops on my hook. I feel like it kind of hides the color change a little bit better. Sometimes though, depending on my tension, I guess, I'm not sure, it doesn't look quite the same, and so I'll do it where I do the slip stitch instead. So I'm going to show you both ways here. I'm going to take my white yarn, and I prefer to make a slip knot with my yarn to join it. You don't have to. I've seen people do it both ways, whatever is more comfortable for you. But I like to take the slip knot, put it on my hook, tighten it up a little bit, and then finish my last double crochet of the second block with the white on the hook. And there you're ready to start your next block with the white yarn. So we'll go ahead and join to the next block here. Move the tail out of the way. Join with a slip stitch and just chain 3 and do 3 double crochets in the next block's gap. There's 1, there's 2, and we're going to start number 3 here, but we're not going to finish it because again we're going to go ahead and change. We're going to change back to blue by leaving this white still on the hook there. So we'll go ahead and find the other end of our blue yarn here. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess. Go ahead and make another slip knot. Again, you don't have to. You can just join it right on in there if you want. Put that on your hook. Tighten it up. I like to pull on the working end of my other color here. Pull on that a little bit when I join the blue yarn in. You can always pull on it a little bit later if you want to tighten it up a bit. You can see I pull my slip knot right through there, but that's okay. Then we just go ahead and join to the next block again. Make sure you're working with the working end and not the tail. Just join with the slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and do 3 double crochets in the gap. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And you can see we've made 1 block white. It kind of hides it a little bit better, especially right at the edges here, the corners of that block. You can see a little bit of the blue peeking through here, but as we work and we tighten up, we can pull on these yarn tails on the back to tighten the stitch up. It kind of disappears. We'll go ahead and finish this row with another block of blue. And then we'll do some more color changes in row 6 here. Oops. And there's our last double crochet of the row. So go ahead and turn and start another row. Chain 6, double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, just like we were doing in the first video of this series. Double crochet in the next 2 chain spaces, and that'll be the first block of row 6. And then we'll go ahead and join and do another block of blue, just doing 3 double crochets in the gap there, if my yarn will cooperate. It's kind of slippery on this hook here. There we go. And then let's say we're going to go ahead and change back to white here. So, like I said before, I like to do it where I have 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to show you the other way now here where I only have one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook into the gap of the next block here. And I'm going to do the slip stitch actually with this bit of the white yarn here. So I'm going to pull on it a little bit just to tighten it up there. And then I'm going to keep my hook nice and close to the work here. That's going to minimize the amount of yarn that comes through for the slip stitch. It's easier to tighten it here than to try and tighten it later, which is why I like to keep the hook nice and close when I yarn over. And then you just pull that through the gap there and through the last loop there. And then chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're just going to work 3 double crochets in this gap. It looks a little bit tight here. Again, when we pull on the yarn on the back of the square, it'll help. But we're just going to right now do 3 double crochets in that gap in the white. There we go. And let's go ahead and do one more block in white. So just join and then chain 3. And then do 3 more double crochets. There we go. And then we'll join back to blue. And to do that, free up some of my yarn here. We're going to take this blue yarn here that we used before. Again, we're going to try and keep our hook as close to the work as we can. This yarn is going to come up and be used here, right here in this gap. So it doesn't have to go too far. So we're just going to keep the hook nice and close. We're going to insert into the gap there, pull the yarn through, and then pull through the white loop. You can tighten that there, and then you just chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we'll go ahead and do 3 double crochets in the gap there. Let's see. There we go. And then we'll finish off this row by doing joining, chain 3, 3 double crochets in the gap. Gets pretty repetitive, you can see. There we go. I've got some yarn caught here. There we go. You can see if you have bobbins, you end up with something that's not a mess like this. We'll cover that in another video here pretty soon. Go ahead and try and untangle a little bit of that. There we go. So there we go. Now we've got 3 blocks of white here in our square. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and turn again. You can see we've got the 3 colors here that we're working with. One for this side of the blue, one for this side of the blue, and one for the white. We're going to go ahead and, oh, what the heck, let's start decreasing a little bit. Go ahead and just slip stitch up the side here. And then we're just going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And then just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take another color here. Hold on. One more color here. Nice pretty blue. Find my bit of the yarn from the center. There it is. I'm going to put a 3rd color in here. Just for fun, just for kicks and giggles. So we'll go ahead and make our slip knot there. I'm going to take this, I'm going to insert my hook into this gap here, and instead of joining with my greenish blue, I'm going to join with the light blue on the hook. And I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and do 3 double crochets, maybe. Oh, yarn barf, there we go. 3 double crochets in that gap. And you can see if your tension's not very tight, you're gonna have this start to happen where you've got your working end of the color you just abandoned just kind of hanging out, being all loosey-goosey. And you don't want that because it creates extra big holes and it just gets in the way. It doesn't look as neat. So you just pull on the working end there to tighten it. And that takes care of it. And again, reason for bobbins right here. We'll go ahead now and we're going to take the white from kind of a different spot here. And you can see the white is down here in this quarter. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pull the white yarn to the back there. You can see how it kind of comes across the back. I'm going to insert my hook into the gap of the white block there and pull the white through and then pull it through the blue. And there you go. Then we'll go ahead and I'm just going to chain 3 and do 3 double crochets. And then what I'm going to show you next is how to pull your yarn across multiple squares, multiple blocks. Sometimes when you're doing one of these graph gams like we got with the Harry Potter one, a few places in the Harry Potter one I've noticed it, we go ahead and have our yarn has to cross multiple blocks. And actually I didn't do it here. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take this white block out. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this greenish blue yarn and have it come all the way across. And you can see how it's, if you pull nice and tight, the blue yarn, this greenish blue yarn I should say, if you pull tight, only covers maybe an inch here. That could change depending on your tension, but for me it's right about an inch, and I like to keep it nice and tight because again, if I keep it loose and I pull this much, when you tighten it, you actually have almost a whole nother block's worth of yarn there, right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my light blue yarn back on my hook, and we're going to go ahead and pull that greenish blue yarn down. And I'm going to go ahead and take the white yarn. I like to go ahead and it's right now wanting to sit in the front, but I'm going to pull it to the back just to be out of the way. And I'm going to insert my hook into the gap of the white block. And then I'm going to take my blue yarn, bluish green yarn, and I'm going to wrap it around my hook. And I'm going to try and keep it as tight as I can. Not so tight that it just scrunches up like that, but just tight enough. It'll loosen up as you go too, so if you're worried you have it a little too tight, it'll be okay. So we're just going to take this yarn and we're going to pull it through just like that. And then we'll chain 3. You can see how my square is a little bent there because I pulled it kind of tight, but when we keep going it'll loosen up and kind of flatten out again. So we'll go ahead and chain 3 and do 3 double crochets in the gap. 1, 2, and 3. Whoops, there's 3. Pull on my light blue to tighten that hole up a little bit. Oh, there we go. And now you can see we've got our white block here, our next block, but you can also see the yarn we carried over, just kind of hanging out. Because we're going to do this next block in blue, that's okay. If we're going to do the next block in a different color, it might show up and look a little funny. So I don't like to carry my yarn over more than a couple squares. In this case, all we're going to do is we're going to find the gap here, a little bit hidden. Find that gap, insert your hook, and make sure your hook goes beneath the yarn in the back there. If it goes over, you're not going to end up crocheting over it, and you'll have this line back here, which you don't want. So you make sure your hook goes underneath and pull through to join with a slip stitch, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and do 3 double crochets. And there's our 3rd double crochet. And there you go. Now you can see we've got Number one, we've got a bit of a yarn mess over here. But number two, we've got some color changes here. You can see where we did the color change. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to tell. This one I think is especially obvious. You can see that greenish blue yarn poking through to the blue. Sometimes you can fix that by taking the tails on the back of both color changes and tightening them. Sometimes it doesn't make a difference. The best advice I can give is just try different methods of joining your yarn together. If you like the slip knot like I do, you can try that. You can try without the slip knot. You can try where you join at the slip stitch or join before you finish the previous double crochet stitch, whichever you prefer, whatever gives you the look that you like the best. Again, this one's a little bit loose. We just tighten that up and then it's a little less obvious. Sometimes if you're joining colors that are pretty similar in lightness or darkness, it's not as obvious, especially with the white and the greenish blue yarn. It's pretty obvious here. Even the light blue with the greenish blue is pretty obvious. So I prefer doing it with the slip knot and before the slip stitch, but that's just me. Again, you got to find what works best for you. So that's basically a quick little rundown on joining colors into your work, changing colors as you go. If you have to start at the end here, we'll go ahead and show you that real quick. We'll go ahead and finish up this row real quick here. Maybe. We'll go ahead and do our 3 double crochets here. And another one. And here we go. So I just finished our last double crochet of this block. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and actually change to, let's say we'll take the light blue. And I don't have a free end of it, so I'm just going to clip this and use this end here. Again, this is the messy way to do it. We'll go ahead and I'm going to make a slip knot like I like to do. And I'm going to take this out just one stitch here so that I've got not even a whole stitch, just a little bit, so that I've got 2 loops there. I'm going to put those back on my hook because that's where I like to do my color changes. And then I'm going to take my blue yarn, put that on there, and finish that double crochet with it. Then we're going to turn. And this is how you're going to start colors at the start of a new row, or when you start a new row, this is how it's going to look. You're just going to chain 3, 1, 2, chain 6, 4, 5, and 6, and then just do like you've been doing with the increasing rows. Just double crochet in the 4th chain space from the hook, and in the next 2 chain spaces. Would help if I yarned over. There we go. It can get a little squirrely sometimes. There we go. You can pull on that there to tighten it up. And then you can see when you join them, you've got this edge here where we've got greenish blue all the way up until you get to here. And that's how you start color for new row. So that's basically all I have to show you for color changes. Our next video will be the second to last video in the corner to corner basics video tutorial series that we'll be doing. And it will cover the mini or modified corner to corner stitch, which is done very similarly. It's worked in half double crochet. There's fewer chains and fewer stitches in general. Uses less yarn and it results in a slightly smaller square. So we'll go ahead and show you that in the next video. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. Be happy to hear from you. Happy crafting!